I used to think silence meant awkwardness, the kind that fills the air when you don't know what to say, when someone says something weird, or when a moment goes too long without being rescued by a joke. But with him, silence became something else. We didn't talk that night, not in the way that would have made anything easier to define. He just walked into our room after brushing his teeth, tossed his phone onto the nightstand, and climbed into the bed beside me like it had always been ours. No big announcement, no invitation, just gravity. Simple, undeniable gravity. I didn't ask why. I didn't have to. His hand found mine under the blanket. We didn't lace fingers, just touched. Light and slow and still. The next morning, he got up before me and made coffee. Not a word about the night before. Not even a smirk. Just coffee and that little shoulder nudge he does when he hands me my mug like I'm incapable of taking it with both hands. I watched him from across the room, wearing one of his wrinkled soccer shirts and no socks, hair a mess. And it hit me. Everything feels different now. The bed still creaked. His posters still peeled at the corners. The hallway still smelled like microwave popcorn and cheap body spray. But the air around us had changed. It wasn't about the sleepovers. He'd crawled into my bed more times than I could count now. Some nights he didn't even wait for lights out. He'd just sigh, look at me like I was the softest place he could fall and roll into the sheets. It wasn't sexual, not rushed, not labeled, but it was intimate, and I felt it. Everywhere. In the way his pinky brushed mine while we watched a movie on my laptop. In the way he always faced me when we slept, knees brushing, breath steady. In the way he smiled slower when I walked into the room, like something about seeing me reset his day. That kind of difference. It doesn't shout. It hums. We hadn't talked about it. Not really. No, what are we? No big declarations. No rainbow flags or couple selfies. Just two boys in a dorm room learning how to exist in the spaces between friendship and something more. But even without words, the answer felt louder every day. Like the time he told someone, "I'm heading back to my room. Corey's waiting." Not the room. Not my dorm. My room. Corey. Or the time I caught him absent-mindedly humming a song I had played on repeat for a week. Like my moods had etched themselves into his memory. And the small things. So many small things. He stopped locking the bathroom door. When he showered, he saved me the last granola bar without saying anything. He adjusted the playlist volume depending on whether I looked tired or hyper. That was the kind of love I never expected. The quiet kind. Not firecrackers. Not confession speeches in the rain, just a steady warmth. A hand that lingers. A glance that stays. Still, I couldn't shake the question. What are we? I never asked it out loud. Maybe I was scared of the answer. Maybe I was even more scared of no answer at all. Because as much as I wanted a name for it, boyfriend, partner, something, I also didn't want to risk breaking the spell by forcing it into a box. He never said anything either. But some nights, I'd catch him watching. Me when he thought I wasn't looking. Not with lust, not even with curiosity, just that look. The kind you give someone when they make you feel safe without trying. And on those nights when we lay side by side, fully clothed, barely touching, I swear I could hear his heartbeat answering mine. We were something now. Not roommates. Not just friends. Something made of movie nights and shared sweatshirts. Of forehead nudges and wordless warmth. Something I didn't know how to define. But I didn't need to. Not yet. We were something now. I just didn't know what. It started at the rec center volleyball game. Cam had that kind of presence. Bold, but soft-edged. The kind of guy who makes everyone feel like they've known him for years, even if they just learned his name 5 minutes ago. He was new to our floor, transferred in mid-semester after a housing reshuffle. His room was 2 doors down from ours, and by the 3rd day, he'd already been invited into our little group like he'd always been part of it. He was also openly gay, and didn't mind. Letting that be known. Not in a loud, performative way, just honest, easy. And he noticed me, fast. "You've got a laugh that hits in the chest," he told me once. Like, Heart thump kind of stuff. I didn't know how to respond. I think I just blinked, but I felt the compliment burn in my ears. Hunter, who'd been pretending to scroll through his phone a few feet away, suddenly looked up and said, "Yeah, he's always had that dumb laugh. We try to ignore it." It was a joke. Kind of. Cam raised an eyebrow, smirking. "Oh, so you've claimed the exclusive rights to teasing him, huh?" Hunter didn't answer. He just offered a lopsided grin and tossed a balled-up napkin at my head. Over the next few days, I found myself caught between attention and tension. Cam was fun to talk to. Quick with jokes, emotionally intelligent, easy to be around. Hunter was Hunter. Familiar. Protective. Constant. But his touches grew tighter. His silences louder. He'd loop an arm around my shoulders while we walked, lingering longer than usual. He started sleeping even closer to me, sometimes with his arm fully around my waist, his forehead against my neck. We still didn't talk about any of it. One night, after a group movie in the lounge, Cam walked me back to our room. A short, casual walk, but Hunter was already there, lying across my bed like it belonged to him. When he saw me, his eyes flicked to Cam, then back to me. He didn't say anything, just shifted so there was only space for one. Cam gave a soft wave. "Night, Corey." "Night," I said, my voice catching on the doorframe. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it, unsure of what I was feeling. Hunter sat up slightly. "So, Cam." I waited for the rest of the sentence. It never came. Instead, he patted the space beside him, the one he'd just made room for. I hesitated, but I still climbed in. Because despite everything, the confusion, the non-conversations, the lingering touches, I still wanted to be where he was. That night, he held me tighter than usual, like he was trying to say something without saying it. Like if he just held me close enough, I'd stop wondering, or worse, he'd stop wondering if I was slipping away. His breath was warm at the back of my neck. His hand settled just under my ribs, like he was anchoring me there. We didn't speak, but my mind wouldn't stop. Was this love? Was this real? Or was I just someone he couldn't bear to lose, even if he didn't fully know why? In the dark, I whispered, "Hunter?" He didn't answer. I thought he might be asleep, until I felt his fingers press just a little, firmer against my side. Not a squeeze, just a pulse. I didn't say anything else. I couldn't. Because the truth was, I wasn't even sure what I was asking. Was this love, or just fear of losing me? The forecast said, light drizzle. College forecasts lie. By the time we made it, halfway across the quad, the sky cracked open and poured like it had been holding back for weeks. Students scattered, some running for cover, some giving up entirely and dancing like soaked fools. Hunter and I had gone to one of those campus spring events, lawn games, open mic, free pizza. I'd been hesitant, of course. Too many people, too many unknowns. But Hunter nudged me into it with that same old crooked grin and a promise of cinnamon rolls on the way back. We never got to the cinnamon rolls, because the rain came down hard, fast, and Hunter just grabbed my wrist, shouted, "This way!" and pulled me under the nearest tree with a canopy thick enough to keep most of the water out. It didn't work. We were already drenched. He shook his head like a dog, water flying from his hair. Okay. Maybe not the best hiding spot." I was laughing before I could stop myself. Completely soaked, shirt clinging to my chest, and somehow happier than I'd felt in days. He looked over at me and smiled. Not the teasing kind he gave Cam. Not the lazy kind he gave the world. This one felt like it was just for me. "I love that laugh," he said softly. I blinked. "What?" He shrugged, water running down his jaw. "It's real. You don't fake it. I like that about you." The rain softened a little. Not much. Just enough that I could hear the tiny rhythm of drops hitting leaves above us. Hunter stepped a little, closer, eyes never leaving mine. He reached up and pushed my wet bangs off my forehead, fingers warm against my skin. "Can I?" He started, then stopped. A quiet breath. A pause. But he didn't need to finish, because I leaned in first. It wasn't a movie kiss. It wasn't fireworks or spinning camera angles. It was slow, soft, trembling. My lips were cold and so were his, but the warmth between us made up for all of it. There was something in the way his hand found the back of my neck. Not possessive, not unsure, just gentle, like he'd been waiting. When we pulled apart, he didn't step back. He rested his forehead against mine, both of us still breathing a little too hard for such a short kiss. He smiled, eyes closed. I wanted to do that since the first night you looked at me like that. I opened my eyes, barely a whisper between us. You remember that? He nodded. I remember everything. I don't know how long we stood there. 5 minutes. 10. A lifetime. Eventually, the rain stopped pretending it would let up, and we made a run for it, slipping through puddles, laughing like idiots, hearts lighter than the clouds above us. But that moment stayed, pressed into the fabric of who we were now. Not just roommates, not even just friends. We were something else now. And the rain hadn't stopped us. The rain soaked everything, except what we were becoming. There was something about dorm rooms at night that made everything feel more honest. Maybe it was the hum of distant traffic through the cracked window. Maybe it was the way the campus quieted down, like the world finally exhaled. Or maybe it was the way Hunter always looked at me in those late hours, like nothing else existed. Beyond that tiny twin bed we somehow always ended up sharing. We didn't talk much that night. We didn't need to. He'd come back from the gym, hair damp, hoodie unzipped just enough to show the corner of a tattoo on his collarbone. I'd never seen before. He tossed his bag down, kicked off his shoes, and crawled in beside me without a word, like he always did. But this time, he didn't fall asleep right away. He just lay there staring at the ceiling. Quiet. Breathing in sync with me. I rolled onto my side to look at him. That's when he said it. I think I'm falling in love with you. He didn't whisper it. He didn't make it dramatic. He just said it, like a truth that had finally stopped asking for permission. I didn't move. I didn't say it back. Not because I didn't feel it, but because the moment felt too big for words. Like anything I said might break it. Like my heart was still catching up to my mouth. I watched his face in the soft glow of the hallway light slipping through the bottom of the door. He was waiting. Not panicked, not expectant, just still. Finally, I swallowed and whispered, "Hunter." He looked at me. I shook my head slightly. I don't know what to say. And instead of getting hurt or pulling away, he reached for my hand. Slow, careful, and threaded our fingers together. "It's okay," he said, voice barely above a breath. "I'll wait for you to catch up." That's when I knew. It wasn't about how fast we moved. It wasn't about saying the right thing at the right time. It was about the quiet spaces, the ones he always made room for. He never pushed, never demanded. He just held space for me. And in that moment, I didn't need to say it, because the way I reached for him, the way I rested my head on his chest, the way I exhaled like I'd been holding my breath all week, that said enough. We didn't kiss. We didn't touch more than that. But as we lay there, curled up under the weight of those unspoken words, I felt more seen than I ever had before. His thumb brushed gently across the back of my hand, a silent rhythm that lulled us both toward sleep. He said it out loud, and somehow I didn't need to. At some point, it stopped being a question of if he would crawl into my bed. It just became the way the night ended. Every time. Some nights, he was already there before I turned off the lights, hoodie on, legs tangled in my blanket like it had always been his too. Other nights, I'd feel the mattress dip after midnight, his quiet weight slipping in behind me without a word. And every morning, I'd wake up wrapped in him, his arm across my chest, his breath at the back of my neck. Sometimes even his hand loosely curled around mine, like he'd found it in his sleep and refused to let go. There was a kind of peace in it, a kind of safety I didn't even know I'd been missing. Little things started to change. I came back from class one day to find an extra toothbrush sitting in the cup by the sink. Blue handle, still in the packaging. I didn't ask. He didn't say anything. But the next morning, he used it without blinking, like it had always been there. A few days later, I opened his Spotify account while we studied together and noticed a new playlist called Ours. Shut up, I know it's cheesy. It was full of dumb, soft songs. Some of mine, some of his. Some neither of us had ever mentioned, but somehow still fit. There was a rhythm now. He made the coffee. I picked the mugs. He set alarms. I hit snooze. We moved through the tiny shared space like people who'd stopped pretending they weren't, already sharing a life. One morning, I woke up before him. The sun was barely peeking through the blinds, casting thin, golden lines across the ceiling. He was still asleep beside me, arm draped lazily over my waist, chest rising and falling in that slow, sleepy way that made me feel like time had paused just for us. I stared at the ceiling for a while, listening to the quiet, and something clicked. This wasn't a fling. This wasn't a roommate situation that got a little complicated. This wasn't temporary or confused or convenient. This was home. Him, snoring softly beside me. Him, keeping one leg tangled with mine like he was anchoring me there. Him, making space for my toothbrush, my music, my heart. All of it. Home. I turned, onto my side slowly, careful not to wake him, and just looked at him. His face looked younger in sleep, softer. Like all the parts of him that tried to be cool or funny or unbothered had gone offline, leaving just the real him. The boy who made space for me without ever making a big deal about it. The boy who waited. I reached up and brushed a bit of hair from his forehead, and I said it. Quiet, shaky, honest. I love you too. He didn't wake up, not fully, but he stirred a little. And then, he smiled. Just a small, sleepy smile, like he'd heard me in his dream. And somehow, that was even better. I thought I was just falling for him. But what I was really falling into was a place to belong. We were doing fine. Better than fine, actually. We had our rhythm. Classes, coffee, naps tangled together in that narrow twin bed. Laughter at night. Study sessions that always ended in music and shoulder touches. It felt real. Like something we were both gently, quietly building without having to explain, until his brother showed up. I didn't even know Hunter had a brother. Not until I came back from my literature seminar and found them standing outside. The dorm. Two versions of the same face, but colder. Stiffer. More guarded. His brother was tall, clean-cut, and wore confidence like it was ironed onto him. He looked like someone who never forgot to lock the door or say the right thing. The kind of person who always knew exactly who he was. I walked up, trying to play it casual. Hunter looked over and smiled too fast. Hey, this is my roommate, Corey. Roommate. The word stung more than I expected. His brother nodded once, just polite enough. Nice to meet you. I caught the glance. The one that started at my shoes and ended somewhere behind my eyes. The one that silently measured, judged, and shelved me. I've got time for a quick bite, the brother said. That place you liked last year still open? Hunter nodded. Yeah, let's go. He didn't look back at me as they walked away. After that day, things changed. Subtle at first. But I noticed. Hunter stopped grabbing my hand in the hallway. He skipped breakfast 3 mornings in a row. At night, he came to bed later, always saying he had to finish something, always turning away from me just slightly. I told myself not to. Overthink it. I told myself he was tired, stressed, busy. But fear has a way of filling silence like water in a cracked cup. By the end of the week, I couldn't take it. He came in after midnight, and I sat up, heart racing before I even spoke. Are we okay? I asked. He looked at me like the question surprised him, like he hadn't even noticed the gap between us growing. What do you mean? You've been gone. Even when you're here. He rubbed a hand down his face and sighed. I'm just tired, Corey. No, you're pulling away. Ever since your brother, he cut me off. Don't make this about him. Then what is this about? His silence hit harder than anything he could have said. I stood up, shaking. Just say it. If you regret this. If you regret me. Just say it. He stared at me, jaw tight. Hands clenched. A full 30 seconds passed. Then, I'm scared. His voice cracked. I'm scared, okay? The words hit like a soft punch. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. I saw the way he looked at you. The way he looked at me, like I was broken, like I'd thrown everything away just for this, for us. I didn't move. He kept talking. He doesn't say it, but he doesn't have to. I know what he thinks. I've always known. He looked up at me then, eyes red, voice trembling. I'm scared of what it means if I choose this. If I choose you. What that changes. What I lose. I swallowed, heart tight in my chest. Do you regret it? I asked. He shook his head, hard. I'm scared of who I am. But I'm not scared of you. That cracked something open in me. I crossed the room in 2 steps and dropped to my knees in front of him. You don't have to be fearless, I whispered. Just don't run. He wrapped his arms around me so tightly I could barely breathe, and I didn't want to. Not if it meant leaving that moment. He cried into my shoulder, not loudly, not for long, but it was the first time I'd seen him break, and the first time I realized how hard he'd been holding himself together. For me, for the world, for an image he didn't even want anymore. That night, we didn't talk much more. But we held each other, and it was enough. Fear came back, but this time it didn't win. I didn't want to leave. That was the truth, and the lie I kept telling myself. I told myself I was thinking about moving dorms next semester for practical reasons. Quieter hallway, better light, closer to my major's building. But deep down, I knew what it really was. I was scared. Scared that after everything, the kiss in the rain, the whispered, I love yous, the nights spent breathing together in one bed, we were still dancing on a fragile floor. That one wrong step would send everything crashing. And after what happened with his brother, after Hunter had spiraled inward for days, after that awful silence, something inside me said, maybe he needs room to figure this out. Room without me in the center of it. So I started filling out a dorm transfer request. I didn't submit it. I didn't even complete the last question. But I kept it open on my laptop just in case. That was the mistake. He saw it 2 nights later. I'd left my laptop on my desk, half asleep in bed when he walked in from a late-night gym session. I didn't hear the soft click of the trackpad, the pause, the sharp inhale, but I felt it. The shift in the air when he just stood there, reading. When I sat up, the screen was still glowing behind him, and his expression was already halfway between confused and hurt. You're transferring? His voice was tight, small. No, I said too quickly. I didn't finish it. But you started it, he said, barely above a whisper. I didn't submit anything. That's not what I asked. He looked down, his jaw working like he was trying to hold everything in and it was failing. Do you want to leave? Or are you just scared I'll make you? The room was silent. And in that moment, I felt the wall between us finally crack all the way through. Stood up. My voice shook. I thought maybe you needed space. After everything with your brother, after the way you pulled back, I thought maybe this was too much. His eyes met mine. So instead of asking, you decided to disappear quietly. I flinched. I'm not going to disappear, Corey, he said, stepping closer. Not unless you want me to. I don't, I whispered. I swear I don't. He was breathing hard now, not angry, overwhelmed. He sat on the edge of the bed and buried his face in his hands. I don't know how to do this, he said. This thing, with someone who matters. That's when I knelt in front of him and said the scariest truth I'd been holding. I don't either. We didn't hug right away. We didn't cry right away. We just sat there, knees touching, breathing like the air between us might break. Then he looked up, eyes red, heart open, and said, but I want to try. Tears welled in my eyes before I could stop them. I crawled onto the bed beside him, and he wrapped his arms around me like a question finally answered. No more almosts. No more guessing. No more being just roommates. That night, we whispered everything we'd been afraid to say out loud. That we both thought the other would leave first. That we both kept waiting for the moment it all fell apart. That it was terrifying. And worth it. Hunter kissed my forehead and murmured, "You're not my roommate anymore." I smiled, watery and real. "What am I then?" He pulled me closer and whispered, "You're mine." We almost broke, but instead, we built something stronger. It started with a sticky note, bright pink, written in Hunter's scratchy, all caps, "Our sock drawer now. Don't judge." I laughed out loud when I found it, not because it was particularly clever, but because it was so him. Quietly bold. Silly. A declaration in 3 dumb words that meant more than either of us probably realized in the moment. That same night, he brought home a tiny cactus in a crooked clay pot. "I read plants make dorms feel more like home," he said, already rearranging our windowsill like it was sacred real estate. I raised an eyebrow. "You planning to move in or something?" He smirked. "Pretty sure I already did." After that, the room started changing. A photo of us at the fall bonfire went up on the wall. Crooked at first, then straightened with sticky tack and too much care. My old throw blanket got traded for a fuzzy one we picked together on a Target. Run. Navy blue, absurdly soft, and now constantly covered in crumbs. Hunter added a little wooden sign near the light switch that read, "This is us." Slightly chaotic. Always home. We even made space for a 3rd pillow. Not because we needed it, but because it looked better with 3. Funny how something as small as a dorm room could start to feel like a life. One Friday night, with midterms, behind us and nothing ahead but the quiet comfort of doing nothing, he pulled me into the middle of the room. "No music?" I asked, eyebrow raised. He just smiled. "We've got enough noise in our heads. Let's try silence." So we danced. Slow, clumsy, barefoot, his hands on my waist, mine resting behind his neck. The only soundtrack was the hum of the dorm radiator and our shared laughter whenever we stepped on each other's toes. He dipped me at one point, poorly, and we both nearly hit the floor. But he caught me, barely, and grinned like he'd just won something. Maybe he had. Later, curled under the covers, our legs tangled and his fingertips drawing lazy patterns on my back, I let the silence stretch, before saying it. "I never thought I'd feel safe in someone's arms," I whispered. "Until yours." His hand stilled, then moved again, slower now. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, soft and lingering. "Good. Because mine were made for you." That night, we didn't rush anything. There was no need. Just warmth, quiet laughter, quiet love. The room no longer felt like his side or mine. It wasn't divided by bunk beds and backpacks. It was just ours. We didn't need more space. We just needed each other in it. We hadn't planned the trip. It was one of those spontaneous things. A long weekend, a friend of Hunter's with a borrowed cabin, and a mutual craving to escape campus noise for something softer. The cabin wasn't fancy. A little crooked. A little drafty. But it had a fireplace, flannel sheets, and a night sky so clear it made you believe in things like promises and beginnings. We got there before sunset and immediately dumped our backpacks on the wooden floor. Hunter made a show of testing the couch springs. I, of course, claimed the blanket by the fireplace before he could steal it. The first hour was laughter, marshmallows, and arguing over who got to make the hot chocolate. The second hour, something quieter settled in. Later that night, we sat outside on the back deck, wrapped in a single blanket, our socks still damp from the walk to the lake. Above us, stars blinked like they knew they were being watched. Hunter leaned his head against mine. "Feels like we're the only people left on Earth," he whispered. "Wouldn't be the worst thing," I said. He chuckled. "As long as we had snacks." We didn't talk for a while after that. Just listened. To the wind. To the creaking of the old deck beneath our feet. To the fire popping just inside the screen door. And, Maybe to our own hearts. Slow, calm, steady. Finally, he shifted. Do you ever think about after? After what? After this. College, dorm life, all of it. I nodded. Sometimes. He looked down. Scares me a little. I nudged his knee with mine. What does? He paused. Then, that this is the best it ever gets, that we peak here. I was quiet for a beat. Then I said, or maybe this is just the first part of the story. That's when he turned, full body now, legs crossed under the blanket. I want a tiny place, he said, like, absurdly small, barely big enough for a bed and a stove. But I want it to be ours. I smiled. You cooking in this fantasy? Obviously, you'd burn toast. Fair. And I want a dog, he added. Something scruffy and too loyal for its own good. I laughed. Name? He pretended to think. Mr. Biscuits. Absolutely not. Then you pick. I shook my head. I'm terrible with names, he grinned. Good thing I already picked yours. We kept talking. About childhoods. About fears. About the dumbest things we wanted to do someday, like build a blanket fort that actually required permits, or visit every state just to rate their pancakes. It wasn't planning. It wasn't a timeline. It was dreaming, together, and it felt sacred. When we finally crawled into bed that night, the small one with too many quilts and just enough space for two, he didn't reach for me right away. Instead, he whispered, "Thank you." For what? For making all of this feel real. I turned to face him, eyes already heavy with sleep. I didn't do it alone. We didn't kiss like the movies. We didn't undress like a scene written for drama. We just held each other. His thumb traced a line on my wrist. Mine found the small scar on his shoulder he never talks about. Our bodies curved into each other, like puzzle pieces that always belonged together. No rush, no expectations, just warmth, just breath, just love. Somewhere between the conversation and the silence, I whispered, "I love you." He didn't say it back this time. He just kissed my temple, wrapped his arms around me tighter, and pulled me close until we both drifted off with matching heartbeats. That night, it didn't feel like a beginning or an ending. It just felt like forever. It's strange how life shifts without asking. One semester, you're nervously unpacking socks in a sterile dorm room beside a stranger who leaves the closet door open while changing. And the next, that same person is kissing your forehead on a Tuesday because your headphones broke and you looked sad for 3 seconds. We moved into a new dorm building for the spring. Slightly bigger, still shared. But this time, it wasn't his side, and my side. It was just ours from the start. 2 desks pushed together. 1 long mirror, mostly stolen by Hunter's skincare routine, and a keychain hook by the door with both our names carved in wood. We had new routines now. He made breakfast on Mondays, usually burnt toast and frozen waffles he claimed were part of the aesthetic. I handled dinner, mostly takeout, occasionally pasta when I wanted to impress him with a single pan and too much garlic. We still tripped over each other getting ready. We still forgot laundry. But we remembered the important things, like hugging, before class, like taking turns picking movies, like saying hey with a smile every time we re-entered the same room, even if we'd only been apart 20 minutes. One night, at a campus party, it happened casually, like breathing. We were standing near the punch bowl, surrounded by too many people in flannel and cheap cologne. Someone leaned over and asked, "Hey, who's this?" And Hunter, without missing a beat, said, "This is Corey, my boyfriend." He didn't look at me when he said it, didn't squeeze my hand for reassurance, just said it like it was always true. I felt my ears heat up instantly. My cheeks went full fire alarm. He looked over then and smirked. "You good?" I nodded. But I couldn't stop smiling for the rest of the night. That word, boyfriend, sat in my chest like a candle. Not loud, not bright, but steady, warm. Because it wasn't about the label, it was about what it meant, that I was loved, that I was claimed, not like a possession, but like a promise. that we were building something real. We didn't need a big dramatic finale, no fireworks, no speeches, just us, a window ledge, and the soft hum of campus below. It was our last night of the semester. Finals were done. Backpacks were packed. But we weren't leaving. Not from each other. Just from this chapter. We sat side by side, our legs tangled, the spring breeze slipping through the open window. Students passed below, laughter, footsteps, guitars, last-minute hugs. I leaned my head on his shoulder, and he kissed the top of mine. Neither of us said anything for a while. Then he whispered, "Crazy, right? This all started because I walked into a room shirtless." I laughed. "I was so intimidated by you. You were wearing socks with pineapples on them." "Yeah, power move." We both chuckled. That slow, satisfied kind of laugh that only happens when you're happy in a way you never expected to be. I looked at him, and everything hit me at once. How far we'd come. How much we'd grown. Not just together, but into ourselves. How none of it had been perfect, but all of it had been true. I reached for his hand, lacing our fingers together. And in that moment, I knew exactly how I wanted to end this story. I thought I was moving into a cramped dorm room. I had no idea I was moving into the rest of my life. If this story made you smile, remember your own first love, or just gave you a little hope, tap that like button, and tell us in the comments, have you ever fallen for someone you never expected to? We'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe. More stories like this are coming your way, and trust me, you won't want to miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and wherever you are in the world, may you find a love that feels like home.